Welcome, listeners. Welcome to a very special edition of the Talkie Taka podcast. Usually, when we sit down together, we have an agenda. We think about the things that we want to talk about. Today, I think we're going to go down a very different route, considering all that's happened in the last few days with referees and VAR, our favorite topic to talk about. Every week, it seems one of us at least is ranting about VAR and referees, and I think it might be a few more of us this time round, whether it's the Spurs Chelsea game, whether it's the United game in Europe, whether it's Arsenal Newcastle, a lot to talk about in those terms. And to discuss all of this on the panel today, we have Ashwin, RK, and Radhaji. Radhaji, how has it been, and what's your talkie point? VAR related?
I mean, the talking point this week obviously has to be Glenn Maxwell. Like, or is that a different podcast? No, but yeah, it'll from a football point of view. I think Luis Diaz's goal, um, such a, I mean, difficult to even understand, difficult to believe kind of situation that he's in. Um, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. I assume that the Colombia team in the 90s may have had incidents like this. Of course, somebody died or was killed by the mafia and stuff like that as well. But to have one of our top footballers' family kidnapped, um, it's pretty insane. And then for him to come back to the field to play, to score a goal, to save Liverpool's blushes on what was looking like a definite loss, really heartwarming moment for him. Even though he completely shanked it, it came off his shoulder. But great moment, great goal, and we're just getting news in that his dad has been released, and he's now with the Colombian police. So that's a nice, well-rounded end to the it's midweek, but end to that entire saga this week. So yeah, Luis Diaz coming back, scoring, showing that message of liberation for Papa. That's my talking moment of the week.
Yeah, and it was touching to see the Luton team also just going to him and just giving their support to him as well. I mean, even though they just dropped 2 points, which may end up proving crucial when it comes to the end of the season, but it was nice to see humanity taking precedence over points.
So just to clarify, swag. So Luton dropped 2 points. Is that the official line that we're taking?
I mean, considering how late it was.
Gained 1 point is probably.
Anyway, okay, moving on. RK, I see you've abandoned all hope with Manchester United and now into the Kerala Blasters fan group.
Yeah, at least one of the teams is doing well. Kerala Blasters is close to the top of the table. So I thought, okay, good time to put on a Kerala Blasters jersey before I jinx them too. But, talking of United, it's been all downhill mostly. We had a great moment at the weekend though, where we just about salvaged 3 points in that game. But in normal day, that would have been my talking moment of the week. But then with United, uh, like you see a sunset and a sunrise and something always comes along to surprise you with United, and that was yesterday with the Rashford red card. uh, I mean, I'm sure that we'll talk a lot more about it, but it was horrible. Radha rightly pointed out to the Curtis Jones incident. I think this was even worse because Rashford was just trying to shield the ball. It was not even a tackle that he was going for, and it wasn't even when you look at it real time, it's not even that hard contact that happens there. It's like he properly bends the leg, but it's not a hard contact. It's just inexplicable how like decisions like this are given, and when the like VAR calls the umpire to the monitor, you can see how they are trying to fix the decision kind of by just showing him those images for the first 10 seconds before they show him the moving image. So all things considered, I don't know whether it's corruption or it's completely incompetence, but there's something really rotten. Whoever referees that we talk about, whether it's Premier League or Europe.
Yeah, and obviously, we'll talk much more in detail about this incident and some more. Coming to the still United fan, Ashwin, what's your talkie point?
Yeah, still after all that we have seen. I could have gone with the same. Honestly, it was just an absolute disgrace, as Mikel Arteta puts it, right? So I think uh, the memories are still etched. I would say, like, it was just so annoying to watch because we were playing so well, and we had the game in our bag also. But I'll probably go for something from the Champions League. I think it was good to see the group of death open up like that. So feel that Newcastle are potentially out of Europe along with Man United. So I would go with that. A good win for Dortmund. I think Milan also won, right? So I mean that group has really opened up, and we wouldn't have said that, and we weren't saying that after Newcastle got that amazing win at St James's Park versus PSG. So I feel two English clubs are already on their way out from the Champions League, and yeah, that's definitely something that we'll be discussing about.
One
Everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome in Europa. Ajao, ajao.
one day RK wears a different jersey and someone has to take over the jinxing work. But yeah, it's 3 points separating four teams in that group of death. So definitely interesting to see. And for me, the talkie point, I guess most of you were asleep and not watching the game between Spurs and Chelsea. But I don't think I've seen such a crazy game ever. I actually also reached out to Matt Davies Adams, who does the Chelsea TV commentary for these games, and I asked him because he was on commentary, and I said, "Do you remember any game like this?" And he said, "No, this goes straight to the top of the craziest pile." And to pick out one point from that is tough, but just to encapsulate and capture the chaos, I would say the Caicedo disallowed goal, because Caicedo scores, that gets disallowed, and while checking VAR for that disallowed goal, they realize that there's been an impeding by the Spurs player, and then there's a penalty awarded for that, and there's a yellow card, which then contributes to getting a red card. Three members of the Spurs defensive line were out of the game, either by red cards or injuries by the end. I think only four players for Spurs who started the game stayed on the pitch at the end. The others were either red carded or substituted. So that was a very very
We,
fun night.
like the Caicedo goal, we need to talk about it whenever we get to Chelsea. So just note that.
United. I think you guys have a lot to talk about. Last we checked, you were about to play City, so you've had the City game in between. Now we've also had this Copenhagen welcoming you to your hell. In between that, stoppage time winner against Fulham as well. Quite a lot to unpack there. RK, fire away.
Want to talk about the City and Newcastle games. That's enough. Trauma there not to go there, and I, and don't have anything specific to say about United in those games. So lesser said, the better about those two games. Except that I think all the noises about Ten Hag going and everything started full throttle after the Newcastle game, and you know, it's natural that people will talk about the manager after those results. After that, it was pretty heartening to see, the like the team putting in a fight against Fulham away. That was the least that you can expect in the circumstances that the players, are they fighting for the manager or not. So that was definitely, like looking at that match, it was a definite yes. I couldn't see the whole match because we were at the New Zealand Pakistan game that day, but whatever I could see from the second half, it did seem like there was some improvement in ball progression. I could see, people passing through the lines, which was like something I had seen after like after a few weeks. So of course, I'm comparing against a very low base, and it might look like talking about basics, but at least it seemed that we were able to progress the ball up the pitch and reach the final third. But again, the final third creativity was very poor. But in terms of control and probably position and being able to move the ball, there were some improvements, and of course, it would have become a crisis situation again had it not been for that last minute goal by Bruno, the last minute of normal time. But having said that, okay, in the circumstances, you're going to take 3 points all day long with United, and that's what most fans were hoping for. That somehow, don't really care too much about the performances right now, but just get the points and try to build up some confidence is how people would have gone into the Copenhagen game. And I think the first half an hour surprised a lot of people, the way that United played, the chances that they created, and how they cut Copenhagen open. Everything was going good till the time the red card happened, and uh, of course, you can talk about how we reacted to the red card. We shouldn't have immediately conceded two goals in the space of 5-6 minutes. That's become a recurring theme with us. You have seen teams like Liverpool and even other teams play quite well with 10 men. You can play in a way which is tough for the opposition, but United don't seem to do that. Even then, we got ourselves back into the game, played very patiently with possession in the second half, and somehow got ahead again in the game. And 3-2 with 10-15 minutes to go. I mean, again, whatever happened with Rash, we should have seen that out. But again, I mean, all the same old issues with Dallo not able to protect the far post. You know, I I can't really blame Onana, but at the same time, you always wonder, where is that wonder save coming from? You know, where is the unlikely save coming from sometimes to save your team? So, but all these are just side issues in what is the main issue, which was the red card. I have talked about it in the talking moment of the week, but I still can't process what happened, not just because of how wrong it was, but how out of gear the whole balance of the match went. And unnecessarily, we are again back in a situation where Eric Ten Hag is completely back in, all the sack talk and everything for, I think, no fault of his own. Really.
Okay, cool. So where do I start? Right. So I think I'll talk about the. I don't want to talk about the Fulham game. We got the winner. It's done. We got the 3 points. We probably didn't deserve it. There was a VAR decision that went against us. Fine, we got the 3 points. Let's move on. But yesterday, what I saw was like absolutely like unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Like I have never seen, or maybe there have been other instances in other league games, but at least in a United game, I've never seen someone being red carded for something as soft as that. Rashford was not even fucking looking at the ball, sorry, at the player when when he seemingly stamped on him, and he gets a red card for that. There was a different action that was happening in the field, and suddenly the commentator is like, "Oh, it seems like Rashford has done something." And then we go back and we see this video and we see this image. The first image that they show is in ultra slow motion. Rashford puts his foot on top of the foot of the winger, right? If you show that image to anyone, they would be like, "Oh, this is a clear red card." And then it takes them like 5-6 more seconds to show the entire footage, and by that time the referee has made a decision because he is like, "Oh, there are like 70,000, 60,000 people who will be shouting at me if I don't give a red card to the to the impeding player." So that happens. That completely changes the game because we were on top. We are soaking in the the pressure. It wasn't an easy ground to go into, right? The ultras were out in full flow, and we are still soaking in the pressure. We were playing well, and for the first time in this season, I actually thought that we'll go and do something, we'll get a result. But no, the referee goes and he thinks that that's a challenge worth a red card. And the moment that happened, I knew something would happen, right? Not it took like maybe 2 or 3 minutes for them to score a goal, which could have been deemed as offside as well, because we have seen that earlier in the season. We have seen that with Manchester City, it was not given offside. We have seen that with Harry Maguire in the Fulham game, which was given offside. And now this thing is not given offside. Now I know I'm speaking as a United fan, and that's why probably I'm looking at isolated incidences, but it's not consistent. So I don't fucking care if you have like the best technology out there. If the refs or whoever is looking into those videos is not able to make a competent decision, which I think 5-6 year olds can do, then I don't know like what's the use of this fucking VAR. Last year this time we were watching the World Cup and we were all in awe of how VAR was used rightly. This year the same technology we are actually saying that it doesn't work. And I was one of those who was talking about how Eric Ten Hag should be getting more out of the team. Yes, he should be getting more out of the team. But every time we are trying to do something, there is some decision that goes against us, and then he has to reinvent. Like I really don't understand what is going on here. I don't I,
No,
I
if
don't know if
if
it's
Harry
a FA
Maguire was
problem.
offside for the McTominay goal, then this guy was definitely offside because he was right in front of Onana, and he was offside. I mean, if that is not interfere, if Maguire is interfering, then that guy is definitely interfering, and that's where the
He's
lack
in
of
he's in
consistency is
he's
so.
in the line of sight, right? He's in the line of sight of for Onana. Like Onana is obviously looking at this player who can tap in the goal, right? But no, that's not offside. Okay, let's not even talk about that. Second half, there is a clear cut. Okay, firstly, United did get a penalty which they shouldn't have got. Okay, so we were 3-2 up, so I acknowledge that. But second half, Rasmus Højlund gets literally, elbowed on his face. Nothing happens. No red card. You watch that in slow motion. You fucking watch that in fast motion. You watch that in 2x speed, 3x speed, 4x speed, whatever speed you want to watch it. It is a red card any day. Rashford one was not a red card. Then there was a penalty incident where the ball literally, I don't know the name of the defender. He basically touched the ball inside the box. As per the laws, that is also a penalty. So United deserved another penalty. Let's go back to each and every decision, look at it, and say that oh, we'll take like 5 minutes to decide whether that's a penalty or not. But you know what? We'll take 5 minutes when it's a United decision. Yeah, it's a decision against United. We'll stop the play as we did against Fulham. We'll stop the play as we did against Copenhagen. But when it comes to a player who does it against United, let's just brush it off. That is exactly what happened. And then, I mean, I'm just sick of it, man. I'm just sick of the gore incompetence of these referees. I know RK was saying the other day, that this might be conspiracy, and I brushed it off. I mean, if these things keep happening again and again and again against specific team, rather said it the other day. It was like in the Liverpool Tottenham game. It keeps happening against Liverpool. It happened against Arsenal. It happened against United. Then I think we are well within our rights to say it is conspiracy, right? It is so fucking annoying. And yesterday we
See,
did not deserve to lose the way we lost the game.
see, it's not happening to one club. It's happening across matches, across teams. Now, the same incident, and I think I read out the guidance or the law that where the referees are supposed to use for VAR in red card decisions, and it clearly said that you shouldn't be looking at it if you're trying to see impact, if you're trying to see dangerous impact, then you're supposed to look at it at full speed. And when the guy walked over to the monitor in the Liverpool Spurs game, it was a still image for the first 10 seconds, and then a slow mo, and there was no full speed at all. And
Same.
for me, that's consistency. That's consistency. They're being consistently incompetent. It's not even a case of now. Um, it's hard to explain these off as one-offs. Now come to some of the other decisions, right? So, like, I'm sure we'll get into this in more detail when the Arsenal game comes up as well. But pushes in the back. What is a push in the back? What is not? Handball, I have absolutely no clue. I have no clue what and the first game of the season, and I think there was a handball incident, and I thought, oh, okay, this is the season where we are not giving handballs for accidental handballs. Chalo, great. I thought that was the way we're going. Now I'm not sure again. So I really have no idea. The only positive I can think of is um, the offside technology, at least that was used in the World Cup, is going to be implemented in the Premier League for next year, which has the
Semi-automated offside.
AI, the
Yeah.
semi-automated offside, which kind of uses an AI projection of where the shoulders are, moves the image around. So maybe those kind of things will stop becoming as crazy as it is. But there's so much that I think I said this after the Liverpool Spurs game. What exactly is the point? if the point is to get the right decision, or is the point to follow stupid protocol to the T, because and then back yourselves and protect yourselves, cover your own asses in the media after that. Okay, by the way, apparently after the Arsenal Newcastle game, now there's an independent panel which has released a statement saying that all the decisions except for the all the decisions about the goal were correct, but there were two red cards that should have been given. I mean,
Havertz
what is
and
happening?
Guimaraes. Yeah.
I just really don't
I
get what's happening. It's not
this
solving the problem for
This
fans. It's
is
not solving the problem.
yes. I'll stick to yesterday's game. I think it was more. We were being hounded. That's how it felt as a United fan. Yeah, rather, what you mentioned about the Liverpool's first game, the exact thing happened yesterday as well. The referee went over. He was shown a still image of Rashford potentially stamping on someone's foot, and then there was like a slow motion video that was being played. Of course, it's going to look bad. And again, like when the entire video was being played, I think the referee could still have taken a call, and he could have literally seen that and taken a call that Rashford is not even looking at that player, so it was clearly accident, and yet he gives that away. And then the second goal, the penalty that Copenhagen got, it literally took him 2 seconds to decide on the spot that that is a penalty. I mean, to me, it was like it felt so fixed. It was so annoying to see that. It was so annoying to see that as a fan, and especially at such an important game. And then chutias like Ange Postecoglou will come in and say that, oh, referees should be given authority and they should be protected. Fuck you. No one cares about your goddamn team in North London. You might have the best stadium. You don't even have fucking fans. Go back to where you come from. We are so right
This is
in venting against. We are so right in venting against the refs because the we the the quality of refs in general is so poor across Europe. It's
so.
just shambolic.
This is an interesting point, and I'll bring it up when we talk about the Arsenal game. But putting a pin on this one about the reactions to some of these decisions, we'll talk about it a bit more when the Arsenal thing comes up. I have no reason to believe that there's any conspiracy, because I do see it happening across the board for a lot of teams. If you look at the teams that have been complaining about it from the start of the season, there are 5 or 6 of them in the league right now. Now, it's obviously the names that we mentioned. We've had United, Liverpool, Arsenal, major incidents, large incidents. Wolves always talking about it. A few of the promoted sides as well have been talking about it. Who's the Everton guy? Sean Dyche always talking about it. So
The,
a lot of
you
teams
know,
are actually feeling the same way.
Newcastle and
I
City, these are
there's
the two teams who are not talking about it.
So, I mean, to be fair, there are 14 or 15 other teams also which aren't talking about it. And I know that that's the angle that everybody's going to. I don't believe it for a second. It's happening. I see if you look at incidents, I'm sure the next incident that happens to a City and Newcastle thing, then we're not going to discuss it in so much detail. I'm sure things will go against them as well. I'm not getting into that. But the overall point is this: it is not solving the problem. If the problem was that the right decisions need to be made, it is not solving that. It is it's like people taking a stance when you're in a room and there's everybody has to rush to a wall. People rush to opposite sides of the wall, and then they're just entrenching themselves there. All the referees are covering each other. All the managers are then coming out and saying absurd shit. Jurgen Klopp came out and said that, oh, we should get a replay. Ten Hag now has come out and say that it feels like it's only happening to us. Arteta said it's a disgrace. This what? It's just entrenching themselves. And the problem is the problem is not getting solved. That is the only clear thing.
I'm just saying that the likes of Klopp, Arteta, and Ten Hag are right in saying this. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy. What I am saying is that the managers go under so much pressure, and one or two results here and there could lead to a sack. In Ten Hag's case, that is very much possible. So I think the managers have the right to vent out. Yesterday I felt that we needed Jose Mourinho there. Trust me, because he would have done something that the referee actually deserved. It
I,
was
I
that bad.
have some I have some gripe on this, not about people having a pushback on. Of course, that deserves so much pushback needs to be given to these referees. But the way that it's being done by clubs also I have a problem with, and I want to pin this for now, and we'll bring it up again when we talk about Arsenal. But yeah, the point is it's not getting solved.
So let's do that. Why don't we talk about Arsenal? As it is, we were going to talk about Arsenal next. Before we get into that, another point that complicates the situation further, and this is where I'm in alignment with what Radha is saying, is that the interpretation of these rules is different in the Premier League, and the interpretation of the same rules is different in Europe. Different interpretation applies. Sometimes you have the likes of Anthony Taylor who are doing PL games, and then in midweek they're doing Champions League games. They have to interpret the law differently. So that's where the problem is, and that's the problem that I think Radha is also saying, that that's the bit that needs to be fixed. There needs to be consistency, and that's what we've been saying all throughout, like the last 2 years. That
No, but that's the way that you're phrasing it, Swag. It almost seems like the difference between the league and the Champions League is causing this inconsistency. But it's happening in the league.
yeah, yeah,
There's no level of standardization. There's no level of equality between two games in the league itself. Every week we're learning new things about what can happen.
correct,
In
correct.
the on the one hand, I'm totally okay if there's no consistency as long as we're not making a mistake again. Like, I'm not, obviously, consistency is king, and just if somebody makes a mistake once, they have to make the same mistake again and again. I'm totally not for that. But what we're seeing now is people make a mistake, they correct it, they overcorrect it perhaps in the next game, and then they make the same mistake a few weeks later. That doesn't make
Yeah,
any sense to me, and I don't see how that is getting better.
yeah. So talking about Arsenal Newcastle, Radha, why don't you go ahead and tell us about what you were thinking?
Yeah, see the push. Okay, let's start with the actual incident. I thought it was something that happens in a lot of games, but I am also cognizant of the fact that these have been given. This season, it has been given. It was given against Man City. I do not for a second believe that. I think this foul happens in every game, and fine. If that's the way we want to live our lives, and every game will have a penalty, then okay. But it's not given in a lot of games, and it's given in some. That's the problem. But prior to that, there were two crazy red card incidents. For me, Havertz was lucky. Havertz was definitely lucky to be on the pitch, and Newcastle had a bit of luck with Bruno
Gimmerish.
Guimaraes as well.
Yeah,
So there were two incidents in that game prior to the goal, which were also issues. Now, all three of these are subjective decisions. Now, they are decisions that, unlike unlike a lot of decisions that we all talk about, even in our own group, we are usually split down the middle on a lot of such decisions. There is always a chance that it will go one way and the other. Mikel Arteta has come out after the game, and the big tirade that he's had is essentially about the push. In the same game, he's had a potential red card not given against his own team. He's coming off as just such a loser who's just crying about his team. And this is the gripe that I have. And Ten Hag also did the same thing after the United game. This is not the way it's going to get solved. It has to be like all the clubs coming together, all the clubs making some united front on this. It cannot be that every time something goes wrong against your own team, all these managers come out and just say some ridiculous things at the moment of time. I think, and the reason why I'm quoting this specific example is the Liverpool Spurs game. I think that was the best opportunity because it was not about a subjective decision. It was about a absolute colossal fuck up by VAR. Now, that's the perfect opportunity for everybody who has a problem to just get behind it and say, oh, things need to change, make a hullabaloo. I remember saying on this podcast, I'm happy if they ask for a replay because I want there to be hot water around these refs. And I'm happy for Arteta and Ten Hag to also call out the refs because I just want more pressure on these idiots. But the point is, it's happening in it's very easy to write off Arteta as saying, look at that loser. He's not even looked at the decision that he got in his own game. Or if the next time something goes right for United on VAR, they'll say like, oh, Ten Hag didn't say anything about this. It happened only when he was losing. All these things. This is just burying the argument, and the only person who's happy about this is Howard. I thought after the basic stupid fuck up that they did, all the clubs will get. I said it on the pod as well. I thought all the clubs will get together. They'll push VAR into a corner, push the referees into PGMOL into a corner, and really get some change. We're not doing that. Everybody's just doing their own fight at their own sweet time.
But rather,
I
what
don't think
else do
that's
you
going to
expect
change.
them to do, right? I mean, every manager has enough on his hands already than to, go chasing and trying to build a consensus. I mean, they don't have time to build a team and to do training. I mean,
This is
like,
not the managers.
rather, do
This is not the.
like, do we see Georgian Klopp, for example, coming out yesterday and saying that this is terrible and this should end? You don't, right? It's all the other way around as well. It's not that
This
everyone
is
is coming out
this
and
is
supporting each other.
this is not the manager's job. This is not the manager's job. First of all, every manager is going to come after a match. They're going to be emotional. They'll say some random shit. It's not the manager's job. Like Swag said earlier in the game, everybody every
So
month they
that's
get
the
together and
you
take
can't
some
blame
decisions,
Arteta
right?
about it, right? Arteta is going
I'm
to
not
rant about
bla-
it.
I'm not blaming Arteta or Ten Hag or Klopp. My point is that no club is doing this the right way. If you're meeting once in a month and you're taking that 14 is to whatever call to make decisions, then the club management, the club owners need to do this together. It can't be left on one manager saying this and then nothing's going to happen out of that. So okay, Klopp made some comments, Ten Hag has made some comments, Arteta has made some comments. Maybe next week Pep will make some comments. Nothing is going to change. Now, unless the owners of all these clubs come together, put some real pressure on PGMOL, put some real pressure on FA, Howard Webb is just going to write off individual instances and say, "Oh, this was wrong, this was right, this was wrong, this was right." Nothing is going to change. That's the only gripe I have, and it's not about one specific manager or
But
one
like
specific person.
managers
It's just
talking about it, post match, which is the only forum that they get, basically the pre match and post match, it at least puts pressure. People talk about it. I mean, it may not be resulting in any change as of now, but it's at least creating so much noise around this whole issue, right? At least people are talking about it because so at least I wouldn't begrudge Arteta or Ten Hag or Klopp for that matter, coming out after a match and talking. They have, that's the only forum they have, and they have every right to talk about those decisions.
they have every right to talk about anything, but they use that same forum to say stupid shit like, "Oh, referees also make mistakes." Right? They did that. Eric Ten Hag came out after the Liverpool Spurs game and said that mistakes happen to everybody. So Arteta said the same thing. Now, if
Same
you say that
Arteta
one
said
week and
that,
then
but
the next week,
yeah, yeah. Same Arteta did 8th November. He said referees need to be given respect and they need to
right, and
be
they're
afforded time,
because
etc.,
they're
etc.
emotional, after their own games. Of course, they will come out. But I'm saying it's easy to write them off because they've already said something different in a previous game. It has to be more organized than putting a mic in front of an emotional manager at the end of the game. Right? I am totally with you. Anybody can and should. And like I said in the beginning of when I started talking, I'm very happy for all these people to come and call out the refs because I want them in hot water. They are the this whole thing about, oh, we can't put pressure on refs because they are under, oh, so much a difficult decision. Are they getting sacked? Look at that. Did you see that guy who Anthony Taylor who went to the bloody
Anthony Taylor
championship and
got
gave
promoted.
that ridiculous penalty he gave in the championship, and now he's doing the is it the Man City
Chelsea City.
Chelsea game? Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, what? So are they getting sacked? What is the big pressure that they're under? It's the managers who are
Basically,
under
they're getting
pressure. It's
rewarded.
the
They're getting rewarded for making mistakes.
yeah, and
But
then that's the narrative around referees that, oh, they're under so much pressure. We can't swear at them. We can't do this. We can't do that. Oh, everybody's just dancing around trying to make them happy. I'm happy if they're in hot water. I was happy when Klopp said some absurd shit. I'm happy that I texted on the group Arteta. I don't agree with Arteta, but I'm very happy with the way he said it. I'm very happy with what he said. But it's just to put pressure on them. I get it, but it's just like Schadenfreude for me. I know that nothing's going to happen out of it until the clubs actually get together.
And even after
like
the
talking of
Liverpool,
questionable calls, right? I just one more thing. Basically, I know that most of you don't agree on this, but the line call also that was made in the Arsenal Newcastle game just before that goal is something I don't agree with. Because intrinsically I don't agree with the point that you can't use not having a technology as a reason. If you don't have technology, you got to use the available technology, and I believe the available technology is better than the linesman's call. The linesman doesn't have the proper angle to judge that ball which is going out of play. That camera at least shows one angle, and I think that needs to be adhered to if you don't have anything else. Is my call on
See,
that.
see the problem with this RK is, and I in fact my only problem with the goal was that I thought it went out. I didn't think it was a push. I thought the ball went out. That was my only problem with the goal. But using technology to make a decision, reverse a decision, make a decision from scratch also, when you don't have the answer, it's going to lead to trouble, right? Like all the videos that we are seeing now about people placing the line across the ball and then coming to the top view and showing that it's actually on over the line or on the line and all of that, that would have just caused the opposite side of uproar if VAR had given that as out. Now, if I don't think we can sustainably use technology to make a decision when the technology is not got 100% right. The question is, why the hell do we not have a camera down the line? Is that so hard? Like the greatest, most what billions and
Exactly.
billions of pounds of revenue is that is the question that we should be talking about. Now, I don't want to debate. I thought it was out. I'm sure that other people thought it was out. Some people who would have seen those videos that all the different newscasters were doing, maybe they thought it was in, but I don't want to debate that, right, whether it was right or wrong. But is it so difficult? And I felt this in the World Cup, but I didn't really think about it too much because it looked like a decent enough view. But why don't they have the goal line technology across the damn field? Like, just why can't that be a thing? It's not so. It must cost them pennies considering what budgets that all these people are working with. Just put goal line technology everywhere, right? It can help in so many other things. It can help with when the ball was played, when you're talking about offside. It can help with when the ball goes out. So many things can be solved by just investing in this technology. I don't get it. I think that's the right discussion to have. That why don't they have the right technology? Why don't they have a man standing with a camera at the edge of the line? Worst case, you don't have fancy technology. Somebody with a bloody cell phone camera standing at the corner line and fucking recording that shit. I mean, it's ridiculous. I really don't get what what are the improving season on season. I'm not able to see.
If Pogmal's looking at this, either they're going to put a hit out against us, or they're going to come to our houses and grab our feet. I don't know, but yeah, just to add to this, the semi-automated offside we've talked about that's coming in. That's already there in Serie A, and I think Nicky Bandini was saying that it reduces the time that it takes. So VAR calls are reduced, and funnily enough, for VAR, when FIFA envisaged VAR as something that would come into football, they thought it'll be used like once in 4 or 5 games because there are no calls that are as questionable. So, and it'll take 3 or 4 seconds to decide. It is actually being used something like once every 15 minutes, and it takes 5 6 minutes. So it's absolutely not gone the way FIFA wanted it to go. Surprisingly, though, in FIFA events it goes fine, but everywhere else, so maybe it's a question of FIFA and the FAs not talking to each other, implementation issues. It's a proper mess, and I agree with Radha that this monthly meeting that the clubs have, where it's not Klopp or Ange or Poch's or Ten Hag's responsibility to go there and attend. It's usually the sporting director or someone from that department, and you need to have this consensus, or at least a dialogue about how you go about making this more actionable and giving it more responsibility on putting more responsibility on the refs. If you're talking about things like what happened after the Liverpool Spurs game, where we had the big VAR thing where the check complete fiasco happened, what has happened after that? They said, okay, we'll release the audio. So now we get some audios every week, and nothing changes. Every week we get the audios and he says, this is right, this is wrong, this is right. Oops. And that's it. So that's not resulting in any sort of transparency. Okay, transparency maybe, but accountability, no. So to have accountability, I agree with Radha completely, because we need to have a consistent, constant discussion between the
And
clubs and the Bogmall.
and the point is, the four of us, three, we support three different teams, but we're all on the same side on this, right? But there are so many people in the court of public opinion, because it's so, when managers come out and talk about their individual incidents and stuff like that, because there are so many lines drawn at club level, that a lot of people are undermined by comments that they've made in the past. Like, if Klopp can just be undermined by saying, oh, but buddy came out and said that we want to replay, he's absurd, he's doing all sorts of, we'll have 100 replays in a season, then you'll just undermine the point, right? Now, similarly, they can pick up something that Ten Hag said last year about something and say, oh, but Ten Hag is totally fine with it when it goes United's way, right off Ten Hag. Similarly, Arteta, similarly, Pep. I, it's I am happy that people are putting pressure on the right people, but I don't see any results. I don't see any. They are just sitting down quietly. Acha, just wait for another 2 weeks. Everything will be fine. They'll start fighting amongst each other. Bas, ho gaya. That's the way that this is going. And yeah, I think they need to do it at a club level. I don't know what the clubs are also doing on this. Like, I remember that John Henry flew down about ownership related and how Chelsea was spending money. He wanted that, but isn't this like a much more tangible and important use of these people's time than like all these absurd how are Chelsea may finding the money kind of discussions? Like,
Yeah, just a quick thing to add over here is that if rather you're expecting owners to come over to the UK and discuss about that, I can safely tell you that one owner is not coming over. Uh, but having said that, what I mean, we should really not be talking about this, all right? Like back when we started following footballs, we are not always talking about, refereeing decisions. We probably some games here or there where we would have been talking about, oh, maybe they did not deserve a penalty. Oh, maybe that was not offside. But it wasn't like so widespread. Now all we seem to be doing is discussing that. We should be discussing about why United shipped in those two goals in the end. We should be talking about why there was just one goal and like what is the XG for Arsenal in that particular game. And what we are talking about instead is whether that was a foul on Gabriel or not, whether that was a goal or not. Like it's just taken so much away from football. It's just the application of this technology, and it's a beautiful technology, right? Like we were shouting about having video technology in football for years. Cricket had it for so long and they seem to be fine with it, right? And I know it's a different game. It's not as subjective. But like it's just the application of technology. It's so wrong and it's just hurting football fans worldwide. So either do something about it, change the referees if you have to do that, or just get rid of it. I mean, that's where I am with this.
Just talking of managers' comments, right? I see a subtle or very big difference, in fact, in how different managers talk of refs. So we all agree that they have a tough job, right? I think none of us will come out and say, oh, it's an easy job and it's not a tough job and they are not under pressure, etc. Right? It is a tough job, and if managers are diplomatic most weeks, then it's fine for me, because I mean, they also want to focus on the football. And you ask them any stupid question pre-match in which they are not necessarily involved, they might put a diplomatic comment, which is also true, saying that okay, these guys have a tough job. But Ange Postecoglou, the kind of comments that he made, that's extremely dangerous for me, because if you look at his quotes, he's like, decisions are decisions, you either accept it or you don't. That, I mean, when you start talking of, you stop talking of referees and you start talking of decisions, and you say that you can't question decisions, then it becomes a very dangerous path that he's taking, right? Because, and then he says, if you're going to go out and complain about bad decisions every week, then what will happen is what happened today, which is a forensic study of every decision. I mean, so what is basically telling fans and managers is, don't question the refs. He's putting himself in a very wrong boat. I don't think Ten Hag or Klopp said anything like that. Probably they just want to respect the refs. But Ange Postecoglou, I can't excuse what he said, and I think it's going to bite him sometime.
I'm telling you,
and this
there's
is the
something
same
wrong
guy.
with these. There's something wrong with these Spurs and former Spurs mofos, right? I think even Pochettino came in and said something on similar lines. I mean, you call out shit for what it is, and that is what is happening with VAR right now.
No, but that's the thing, right? I don't know which quotes you're referring to, RK. But after his game and his two red cards, he's come out and said something negative about VAR now. Like, I mean, not insanely negative, but he's like, we're all just sitting and waiting for we're waiting for things to go on. VAR is taking so long, and we don't know, well, something like that. And now it's taking long time. And do we all actually are we all happier with VAR? Those kinds of messages, right? So that's my point, because at different situations and they're all making these comments when they're so emotional, they are not likely to be consistent, and then people will just write off legitimate things that they're raising will get written off just because they have at one stage shown a different opinion. That is the point I was trying to make. But yeah, all for these guys. Just one last thing before we move on. You mentioned cricket, and that's a great the reason why it's so smooth in cricket is that we've normalized a margin of error. That is the I think that will simplify things to a great deal. Like the entire armpit offside thing, do we really care? Like, just marginalize, just give a margin of error that is, like, there is a certain amount of margin of error which we will, maybe the thickness of the line, maybe something else, just figure out a system which basically normalizes to fans that, hey, if it's within this margin of error, we are going to stick with the umpire's referee's decision, move on. Now, a lot of times you can question decisions that are made on the cricket pitch. Oh, did it pitch when he was taking the catch? But hey, if you just don't are not really sure, we stick with the referee call, and the entire. Of course, people will be unhappy at times, but by and large, 99% of the time, people accept the decision. I think that will also help us a lot, and we won't have to spend like 30 minutes on a podcast talking.
You think you're done. You still got the Spurs Chelsea game to talk about. But to break up the conversation for about VAR, because I know RK wants to talk about the Caicedo goal as well. Something which can rival VAR's performance in the last few weeks was FPL this weekend. Radhaji had triple captained a certain Norwegian who didn't even take the pitch for the second half. How's life?
I would like to take this opportunity to announce my retirement from Fantasy Premier League. It's been a good run. We've had a good time over the last 8, 10, 15, how many ever weeks. But yeah, I think the time is right for me. When the body is just giving you the messages and you can't do it anymore, that's when you know it's time to go. So yeah, triple captain Haaland for 3 points.
You've
That
dropped
was the
down to like
last drop.
10th, I think.
I'm not even checking anymore. When you triple captain Haaland for 3 points, then that's when you just log off, lose your password, throw away the keys.
Yeah, paging Aditya Balraman for that, who did it last season. But like there was so much weird stuff happening on FPL this week. I remember I had tripled up on Spurs. So I have Vicario, I have Udogi, and Madison. So Madison gets taken off, injured. Vicario ships in 4 goals. Udogi is red carded. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, ठीक है. He played some 40, 50 some minutes and he got a yellow and a red. So -2. So I'm ठीक है, -2. It's okay. I'll live with that. Next morning, I wake up, scores updated. Udogi is at -4. Like, where does this come from? Because the -4 is because Spurs conceded 4 goals. Out of those 4 goals, 3 were conceded after he was red carded. And I'm like, how is this possible? So I go to the source of all knowledge in this world, which is Twitter, and there people explain to me that it's because if you're substituted and the team concedes goals after that, they don't come to your account. But if you're red carded, you pay double punishment. So Udogi gives me -4.
That's actually really mature of FPL because they are. If imagine that it was 0-0, he gets a red card, and they concede 5 goals because they are down to 10 men, and our man gets like what's it called, clean sheet points. That will be ridiculous as well. So actually, I think it's pretty mature of FPL to put that into play.
Yeah, but I'm going to come out with a statement saying that that was bullshit. But yeah, I think I had 32 points and I was pretty unhappy about it. Then I saw the official FPL account showing someone's team who had 11 players playing, and with the red cards and goals conceded, the poor chap had 1 point with 11 players. So he had two both the red carded Spurs defenders. He had someone else who conceded tons of goals. Yeah, I think from Bournemouth because they conceded 6 to City. So yeah, I think FPL tips is probably a section we should take a pause from this week. We shouldn't be giving out any tips this week. And
Here's a tip: Football Manager has released. Start playing Football Manager and forget about FPL for a while. I think
yeah.
that's the tip from Haaland triple captainer.
Oh, by the way, there is a certain Ronnie. What is this guy's name yesterday? Ronnie Badagi, the guy who scored the fourth goal for Copenhagen. He's a wonder kid in Football Manager 24. So if we don't do FPL tips, we'll start doing FM 24 wonder kids. So keep an eye out for that. Radhaji is already on his way managing some team. I don't know, maybe from Merseyside. I'll soon hop onto that bandwagon myself, and we'll bring you some good picks your teams can sign in real life soon. On that note, there's a team that keeps signing players from all over the world, which is my team. And I think it's fair to say that we had the most amazing, crazy, bonkers game that I remember seeing, which is the Spurs Chelsea game. 5 disallowed goals, 9 VAR checks, 2 red cards, uh, a striker who scores a hat trick and yet is below his XG because his XG is 3.37. He basically has to be handed the goal line and say, Acha, thoda sa just push it inside and we'll give you a goal. That crazy high line that Spurs were playing with when they were down to 9 men. And even after that, Spurs emerging with more credit after the game. Out of the 11 people Chelsea had on the pitch, one Mark Cucurella was the only one who thought, okay, what I can do is if these guys are playing this high line, I can do a run. No one else in the team is thinking that. All these professional footballers. And then that Caicedo goal. RK, you want to come in here. You wanted to talk about this Caicedo goal, which was ruled out for offside because Jackson was apparently impeding in the line of Vicario's eyesight.
See, for one, that's a margin of error that Radha was talking about. Like, I think I don't want to talk anatomy here, but I don't know which part of his ass was, coming offside. You look at it real time and you can't really figure out, that it's offside. And, that is one. Second is the goal goes in from what, 20-22 yards?
It's
And
from outside the box. He's
inside the
doing
box,
nothing.
you have enough reaction time. I mean, you can't say that a player is obstructing a view from 25 yards. Then where are you going to stop? Next day, I mean, David Beckham or, like future David Beckham is going to score a goal from halfway line. His striker is standing offside in front of the keeper, and you say that, he can't see the ball or something. Like, where is it going to stop? I can't really. I was seeing the highlights, a while back, and that was the moment that struck out for me. I couldn't understand how that goal got disallowed in the first place. It was such a good goal, and I was just flabberstruck that you can apply the offside in that way, and you have a 4-yard goal in the Champions League where the defender is right standing in front of Onana and you can't give it as an offside. I lost it there.
So I mean, I'm keeping that aside. Just keeping that aside. I want to focus all my energy on Spurs. I don't know what I witnessed with their defending in that game. It's so hilarious and also doubly hilarious because Chelsea managed to screw it up for so long. It as a non-Chelsea, non-Spurs fan, this was just the most hilarious match. Like if you want to feel good that acha these guys are not really going to threaten your club in the long run if they play this way, then this is a great thing for Arsenal fans, Chelsea, like Liverpool fans, United fans, all of us to watch because the Spurs. I want to find out the people who are giving Spurs credit after 90 minutes because it is the most absurd
Exactly.
bit of. I
You,
I
this
can't
is the
imagine that
exact thing I
somebody.
was wanting to say. How come, I was got up in the morning, I saw the score 4-1, I saw the highlights, and I was laughing my ass off looking at the high line. It's like a small sandwich on both sides of the half line, and people are trying to make runs. It is so hilarious, and the first comment I see is people are complimenting Spurs on the style of play. And half of them are
They are
Chelsea fans.
literally No, so they're literally complimenting Spurs because Nicholas Jackson can't score a goal. That's basically the crux of it. Like he went through on goal so many times. Cucurella went through on goal. Vicario did some great saves. Chalo, okay. You want to compliment somebody, you can compliment Vicario. But Spurs were shite. I'm so happy because finally, we now know that okay, these guys are losers. Like this was the game that I think for me brings Spurs down several notches. Like sure, when when they're going to play attacking football, it's going to be good to watch. But I know tactically, if they need to do something smart, if they need to do something, keep things safe for a while,
Matic.
you can count. They're back to the old. We can count on Spurs being Spurs, and that is perhaps going to be Postecoglou's weakness. So yeah, I'm happy because Chelsea managed to win 4-1 against a rival and still came out looking negative in a lot of ways. And Spurs just just looking at Spurs tactics and some of their decisions, like it gives you hope that Spurs will be Spurs. So yeah,
Like
as a
Radha,
Liverpool
I
fan, pretty
remember,
happy.
like some of the old conversations that we used to have, right? And I think we used to talk about, people who have this dogma. I think that used to be a word that we used to use. And of course, we used it against Pep for a while, but then I think he's one of the few people who have used that dogma and become perfect. But, if you bring ideals to that level, that, okay, even if I'm down to one man, I'll play that keeper on a high line and I'll try to tackle everyone and play. That's how I think Ange looks at the game. And looking at his comments post match, where he's trying to show the image as if he won't talk about refs and it's wrong to talk about decisions. I think he's trying to play a very high ideals kind of guy, which I think when it comes to football, you need to show a pragmatic streak unless you are Pep Guardiola. And I, I always had this doubt about him, but this match kind of confirmed that for me.
I think Ange, what he's doing is he's probably acting like that intern who's trying to impress everyone to get a pre-placement offer or something, right? Like he's talking about so many positive things. Like everyone needs to, everyone will love Uncle Ange, and like he wants to be that kind of a guy. But having said that, my mind immediately wanders back to the game that United had versus Spurs. We had such a good first half in that game. Second half, they got a lucky break, and then everyone was like, "Oh, Spurs are like title challengers this time around," and like look what they did to United. Look, and they don't have any European football also, so they're definitely going to do it this time around. I think they were found. That's how I would put it in this particular game. And the fact that the Chelsea fans are also sympathizing with Spurs just goes to show where they are right.
No, so I wouldn't go so far as to say that they have been found out. To be fair, it was 9 men, and any team should get absolutely thrashed by a professional team if they're playing with 9 men. If they play that way, like if they play the way that Spurs played. Um, what I will say is that the only thing for me that I take away with some happiness is that I know that Spurs are nowhere near a title challenge. Like the way that they reacted to going down to 9 men just shows a little bit of, not a little bit, a severe amount of naivete that you just see that okay, these are not killers. They don't have that killer instinct to do what's necessary. I'm going to stick to my ideals when you're in that situation. Like, chalo, cool. Let's see how that takes you. The good thing for us as neutrals is it's going to be good to watch. Like, they're going to play really good football. They're going to play good football even when they shouldn't. So that way it's going to be good. And that's the kind of Spurs I always like. The Martin Yall kind of Spurs, who's never really going to threaten you that much, but it will always be entertaining to watch. So yeah, I'm happy for Spurs to remain that person in my life.
I and I think their title challenge is going to suffer quite significantly now because they got Udogi sent off, they got Romero sent off, Van der Ven is out till January at least. So who's playing centre back now for the next few days? I absolutely don't know.
Eric
So
Dier.
then the situation is completely dire.
Look,
As,
It
as you
will be
might
fun. It
say.
will be fun. Like, you guys have had so much fun about Evans and Maguire, right? Let's watch Eric Dyer trying to play a high line with Ange.
Let's see Ange basically pleading with him, bhai, please, highline, sir, please,
may,
please go up.
maybe he'll have some decisions go against him, and then we'll see his actual views about VAR.
Yeah, let's see. We'll find out. I mean, I'm not discounting him right now, but yeah, let's see. We'll see. Okay. So moving on, Radhaji, quick word on Liverpool. Uh, Diaz sparing you the blushes. You made
Mm,
Luton drop 2 points.
yeah, not really sparing us some blushes. I think there's no excuse for not winning that game. There is a there's a lot of panic in the Liverpool fan base about last season and repeats of last season, repeating trends of last season. One of the major ones is that we couldn't win away from home, and right now we've all our drop points have come away from home. There is a lot of context to that, of course. If you look at Chelsea, it was Chelsea away first day of the season, fine. Spurs 9 men, a lot of things went wrong in that game, fine. Brighton away, I think anybody will be happy with the point of Brighton away. Luton is the only game which I think has really been disappointing from a result point of view. Performance also I didn't think was great, but we had an XG of 3.5. So please, that should be well enough to win a game. I think this is where taper your expectations as a Liverpool fan as well. And mine are tapered. I don't think we're going to be a championship team because of this. All through the season, consistently, we have been conceding 0.6, 0.7, 0.8 XG. We've been conceding to the other team. Now, that is all fine. And we've been, okay, to be fair, we've been creating more than 2.5 also pretty much in every game. So, ideally, if you're on fire, your strikers are scoring, then you should be winning 3-1. Now, the days that your striking unit has an off day, it could be a 1-0 loss or a 1-1 game like we saw against Luton. And that is something that Arsenal and Man City don't have. Like they are not, they are much more defensively solid. That in their bad days, it will always be a 0-0 or a 1-0 win. Whereas we are, I think, in our bad days, looking at a potential 1-0 loss or a 1-1 draw and stuff like that. So I think that's the difference between Liverpool and the actual serious contenders this season, and which is fine. I think it'll take Liverpool also a while to become a unit, and I'm okay for us to challenge next season. But yeah, one elephant in the room, Darwin Nunes. I can only say so many positive things about the way he's playing this season, but at some stage the numbers have to add up. If you're a number 9 for a leading club, he has now missed 10 big chances in the league and scored only 4 goals. Now other good strikers are also missing that level of chances, except that they're converting a much higher rate. So Callum Wilson, Erling Haaland, Ollie Watkins, all are actually missing 10, 11 chances as well, but they've scored more goals than Nunes has. So I think that's the problem. He needs to start. Developing a better conversion rate. Some of the ones that he misses are really comical, like an open goal one. And by the way, and it's obviously fashionable to talk about Darwin missing goals, but for me that was all Salah. What is Salah doing 3 yards away from goal and missing a header from there? I just don't understand it. But yeah, Darwin has a problem. I just hope, and it's the thing with Darwin is what I'm understanding also is it's not like a momentum thing. Like his momentum is through the roof right now. His confidence is really through the roof, but he's still not. His conversion is not improving. So I think there's something that needs to be his composure, calmness in front of goal has to be worked on. But yeah, he's been a great player for us this season. I'm still as excited. He's probably after Soboslai Anfield's favorite player right now because they just break into a Nunes chant as many times as they can during the game. So yeah, everybody's loving what he's doing. We just need more goals to go.
It was really heartening to see Luton Town put up a performance. As you rightly said, Liverpool had enough to win the game, but the spirit that Luton showed, especially in that second half, which I was watching, was really good to see. And it's sometimes going to a very rickety, very small ground, like something unusual. It becomes a bit difficult, when teams start to put up a fight as well. Uh, as a United fan looking for really, small silver linings, I think two of our 1 million sales in the recent summers, Tahit Chong and Teden Mengi, I think they had good games. So, hoping that, these guys do well and, they get us something on the, in terms of sell on, as a byproduct of selling them off for 1 million. So that was, like one good thing. Also, if we can talk of other matches, I think one shout out to Radha. Like he's been talking of Neil Maupay for a very very long time. That guy finally scored a goal after 34 Premier League games and 14 months.
How do you have a career in the Premier League with that kind of record, man? Like it's really shocking. I mean, I know that the Wolves guy also had a pretty terrible record, but that was after an injury and stuff like that. But how does somebody like Maupay continue to stay in the Premier League with a record like that? It doesn't make any sense.
Just
But
look at
yeah, I saw
Anthony
that and I
Martial.
smiled. Another shout out though, a quick one. Just when you think you know what's happening in the league and you think that this is a really solid team, Aston Villa go and lose to Nottingham Forest. So yeah, I mean, actually, a lot of surprises. Pretty good weekend of football overall. Liverpool obviously coming out short. Aston Villa losing. Uh, the whole Newcastle Arsenal thing, and as a Liverpool fan, it was quite funny to watch the entire thing play out and all the frustration and all the anger and all of that. Chelsea Spurs was still my favorite game though. Just amazing. Just so many things to love about it. Yeah, great weekend of football.
One more shout out to Mohammad Kudus. I think great goal that he scored at the weekend as well. I felt that was also really looking at the highlights, really electric game to watch. The way that Brentford came back into it, really, really a typical Premier League contest.
Yeah, kudos to Kudus, as we've often said on this podcast. Right, before you guys give any more shout outs, moving on to this weekend's action, the game I want to talk about is Chelsea versus City. I mean, I wonder if there is anything to talk about in terms of how many XG we will be under finally, because this will
So I'm
likely be.
thinking, I'm thinking it'll finish 1-1. Oh, of course, we're talking about red cards, right? Or are we talking about the result? I think
I
1-1,
y-
1-1 on the red card count should be a good call. I think.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of triple
Do you,
captaining Haaland.
Do you really think rather that City are going to get a red card? It's not going to happen.
I foresee easy City win, and it's not just because I'm a Chelsea fan. If you indulge yourself, you can see that they're back on top of the Premier League table. They've qualified with 100% record from the Champions League. The City machine is back in place where it belongs. So it's going to be smooth sailing again, and Arsenal will keep trying to make dents into this machine.
but
Yeah,
you
it's
never know. All you need is one chance
Two
for seven chances for Nicholas Jackson, and maybe you
and
can
two red
just get a one
cards.
nil out of this.
So I mean, the one thing to note though is that John Stones is out, so that is definitely something that can work in your favor potentially. But having said that, City usually have like some 50 million backups for their
Yeah.
defenders. So
I,
you know,
I think RK was out as well.
for
I mean,
some
I didn't
time,
see
for
what happened. I didn't see what happened during the game, but RK seemed to have come off in the 44th minute as well in the Champions League. So there could be a problem there. But yeah, I mean, we thought that not having Kevin De Bruyne also would stop them. Maybe it doesn't matter.
No, they'll play someone else. I mean, Calvin Phillips
exactly.
is
It's been a
rusting in
few
the
games.
reserves.
Yeah, it's been a few games and they are back to creating a lot of XG per game. Bernardo, you look at people like Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, Jeremy Doku is lighting up the stage like no other. 4 assists, 1 goal in a game, so he's on fire. And I saw Reece James substituted in the last match. I couldn't see the match, so I don't know if he's injured again or is he going to play. But if Reece James is going to play again, it's going to be a good contest.
No, he's coming back, so that was precautionary. But yeah, talking about Doku, just before we finish, Radhaji, just to rub more salt into your wounds, the same weekend where you triple captained Haaland, someone triple captained Doku and ended up with 66 points just from Doku.
well, that's 50 more points than what I got. So
Like I said, I mean, this is all in the past for me now. I'm looking into better things. Going to try some meditation, pranayama, and stuff.
golf.
FPL is for younger and more enthusiastic hearts than mine.
Yeah. All right. On that note, we shall close our discussion today, listeners, and hopefully we'll be back next week. And if only Chelsea City can live up to half of what Spurs Chelsea was, I think we'll have a lot to talk about. On that note, saying goodbye for now. Bye bye.